Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Nick Shesky. Thank you for joining us. Homelessness has always been with us, but one college student is making a difference trying to help one of the most vulnerable populations. John Brown and videographer Rudy Romo take an inside look at the homeless crisis in Maricopa County.
Salads in hand, chilled lemonade, and a warm heart. ASU senior Austin Davis makes his way to the Zone, a tent city near downtown Phoenix, to give to Phoenix's homeless population. Davis started this endeavor during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic and created Arizona Hugs for the Houseless in March of 2020. The acronym HUGS stands for Houseless Dignity, Understanding and Empathy, Generosity, and Soul and Smiles.
We bring people the essential items like food and water and tents and everything that a person needs day to day to survive on the streets. But our biggest goal with AZ Hugs for the Houseless is to restore a little dignity to our friends living on the streets, to show people that they're cared for and loved and that they're not alone out here.
He calls his experience rewarding and brings necessities such as water, masks, and other personal goods for people, often daily.
At first, we were just bringing people face masks and water because those were the direct needs in the moment, and then from there the project just really grew and we brought a lot of people on board, a lot of volunteers, a lot of partners, and now it's become pretty big.
And although Davis's outreach only goes so far, one man who's experiencing homelessness says Phoenix's homeless resources need to improve drastically.
One time over there, and the resources that they offer you over there are nothing compared to what they offer you here. And it's not a good way.
Originally from Pennsylvania, Santiago Quinones came to Arizona to find new opportunities due to the city of Phoenix's lack of support for the homeless. 8 months in, Santiago Quinones says he has no luck with housing assistance.
My wife's currently 7 months pregnant. Over there, the resources that I will get will literally would have been helped me to gotten out of this situation way more faster than I got here. It's been technically 8 months since I applied for HUD housing, and not even a call have I received from them.
Davis says the city needs to understand that its residents are in dire need of help and assistance.
If I were to say one thing to the city, it would be people are dying every day here in our city, and these are our neighbors, and they deserve to be treated as such.
Living out here during the summer is unbearable, and people die every day, and right now it's getting cold again at night, so there's never really any relief from the elements out here, and there's nothing comfortable about experiencing homelessness.
Davis says he does all he can to plug the gap on services for the homeless and hopes to inspire and make an impact on people to be more involved in the community.
I'm about to bring out some blankets, some sheets, and some beanies. And then after that, I'm gonna take a friend to a methadone clinic to start her on her path of rehab. And I might be driving a few folks to their new apartments later this evening, which is really exciting. It's just a huge community effort with everyone pitching in whatever way they can. I feel really grateful that we've built this community, and everyone's really just trying to look out for each other.
In Phoenix, John Brown, Cronkite News.
In her strategy to address homelessness, Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego has said she wants more funding for mental health outreach teams, and she wants to explore alternatives to emergency crisis response in the field. Singer and pianist Raina Roberts grew up listening to all genres, but it was country music that resonated with her most. Cronkite News reporter Taiwo Adeshigbin learned more about the challenges BIPOC artists like her face in the country music industry and how she hopes to inspire the next generation.
I can't wait until it's not a surprise anymore, when it's an everyday thing.
The day when artists of all colors are represented in country music.
So when I moved to Nashville, I actually didn't even know that there were other artists of color in country music. I just knew that that's what I wanted to do, and if I was going to be the first, then I would be the first.
An Alaskan by birth who was raised by Army parents, home isn't just one place for Roberts, which inspired her single debut, Stomping Grounds, a song Rolling Stone called a country banger. Roberts will join country legend Reba McEntire on tour next year. The 24-year-old came to love country music's storytelling tradition. She admires other country artists like Chris Stapleton, Mickey Guyton, and Gretchen Wilson, and says Black pop artists like Beyonce, Rihanna, and Drake are also big influences.
A lot of people have this idea of what country is, but attending events like this, I feel like you realize that it's so much more diverse than you think it is.
Roberts isn't the only Black country artist making a name for herself. BIPOC country artists were recently honored at the Grammy Museum in Los Angeles with the launch of the first Rosedale Collective Summit, which aims to support these country artists who are often overlooked.
We're here to end tokenism in country music.
Her friend and fellow country singer TOPANGA Stargazer says Roberts is anything but typical.
The red hair, the culture, like, that is tenacity you can't buy.
In Los Angeles, Taiwa Deshikbin, Cronkite News.
Roberts hopes her genre-bending music will inspire others to live the best version of themselves. The country singer will join McIntyre on tour from March 17th through the 19th in Michigan and Illinois. And now, a look back at the stories from our Cronkite Sports Bureau.
A freshman at VERITAS Preparatory School in Phoenix has found his way into the hearts of the entire community. The relationship this football player has with his coaches and teammates is unmatched. Cronkite sports reporter Cam Dyer has the story on what makes this connection so special.
When you go to a VERITAS Prep football game, you'll see a freshman on the sideline, standing about 5'4" with a smile that's contagious. He might not look like a typical football player, but his love for the game is unmatched, and that love extends to his coaches and teammates.
I love to coach, and I love Coach Brock, I love Coach Jeff, I like Coach Norman, Coach Eddie.
Small in stature, but huge in terms of value to the team. Born with Down syndrome, Wes offers the Falcons an important perspective, consistent positivity regardless of the situation.
There's highs and lows in every season, and the fact that he doesn't quite get caught up in either one of them. He's pretty much the same person all the time, and that's really good for us. He still has the same attitude no matter what, which kind of helps you go, okay man, let's just keep fighting.
One of the all-time highs for VERITAS Prep this year was on homecoming night. The Falcons were up big in a game, and Wes came in for the final play. What happened next seemed like it was straight out of a movie, and it was a moment that Coach Jeffrey EDOUARD will always cherish.
They're supposed to take a knee or maybe run a 5-yard, but knowing Wes, he's been running, gassers with us, running sprints at the end of practice, so I just know a kid like that, he's going to take off. He just has to take off. I was not expecting him to jump on me, but Wes is full of just enthusiasm and full of life, and he just wrapped his legs around me, and I said, you know what? This is the moment. Let's be in the moment together.
When asked who his favorite football player was, there was no hesitation. Wes said GAGE LENTZ, the Falcons quarterback. LENTZ emphasizes the spirit that Wes brings no matter the situation.
Earlier in the season, we were beat pretty bad, and I got pulled off the fourth quarter, and he comes over and just gives me a pat on the back, and he's like, great job, Gage, you're doing so amazing. And it was kind of in a moment of where we're losing and it's pretty upsetting. He just lifted my spirits and was able to encourage me, and it was truly kind of something special.
The encouragement and smiles Wes provides is apparent on and off the field. Each person he comes in contact with has a similar story. Each one includes Wes brightening their day.
After he scored, I had a few former teachers reach out and they go, oh my gosh, I love that kid. And we're talking 2-3 years ago. And if he has that impact on somebody that, they see a minute clip and they know, I've missed his hugs every day before school, and I miss, the high five every time I saw him.
If you're having a bad day, just go find Wes. And he, just his outlook. When I did leave VERITAS Prep in 2018, part of what almost kept me there was I would have taught him.
Wes has already secured his spot as a staple in the VERITAS Prep community as just a freshman. What he brings each day is bigger than football, and his impact will continue to be felt for years to come. In Phoenix, Cam Dyer, Cronkite News.
The Beck family of Arizona is well known in the state's soccer world, from Hall of Fame dad to a son who is an MLS star turned social media sensation. Now another member is leaving her mark on the game. Cronkite News reporter Jaden Sormani has more on the Beck soccer legacy.
Tim Beck has coached boys soccer at Ironwood High School in Peoria since 1993, 5 years before his daughter Haley was born. Now as Tim winds down his coaching career, Haley is just getting started. The former 4-year varsity soccer star at Centennial is now coaching that same program, hoping to follow in her father's footsteps.
It's definitely a tough last name to live up to in terms of my dad's legacy, because even people in the district just know who he is from soccer. So it's definitely been a really cool thing.
It does give me a little sense of pride, a little extra sense of pride that she's kind of doing similar things. I hope she makes that program at when it's her time, her own, and does it her own way.
Tim is not only a 2016 inductee to the Arizona High School Athletic Coaches Hall of Fame, but also the National Soccer Coach of the Year for the 2018-19 season. Even with such an accomplished coaching career, the choice to play soccer was up to his kids.
We certainly pushed on our kids at an early age. You're going to be doing things, you're going to be doing sports, activities, something to keep you busy, because I mean, I've been teaching here a long time. I see the difference between kids who are involved and kids who aren't involved. So I said, you will be involved.
Haley also had the desire to become a teacher, as her parents do, which caused her to put soccer on pause.
My dad was obviously always super supportive of all of our endeavors, so when I told him I didn't want to play in college, he was super okay with it. It's like I paid my dues, I did my time.
And now her time has come to pave her own path away from her father's shadow.
I'm a boys coach at a school in the district, and that's kind of where the similarities should end. I told her, look, you don't have to fulfill a certain amount of championships or, just do things your way.
Both boys and girls soccer has begun in the Peoria Unified School District, and it is no secret that both Becks will have their sights set on championships. In Peoria, Jaden Sormani, Cronkite News.
Boxing may not seem like the best sport for people with Parkinson's disease. However, Rocksteady Boxing Gym in Mesa is exactly what the doctor ordered. Cronkite News reporter Ryan Blank has more on how boxing helps patients with Parkinson's.
Rocksteady. 3 days a week, you can find Jim Coleman at Rocksteady Boxing in Mesa.
It's not just a class in which you go and attend and leave. It's when there's a lot of interactions, there's lots of support, and there's lots of caring.
Coleman and the other boxers need that support. They come to Rocksteady battling a greater fight outside of the ring as they deal with varying stages of Parkinson's disease. Some can barely make it through the door for their first class.
After a week, just 1 week of working out with the gym, they are walking. It just makes a huge difference. It just is an amazing program that allows us to really work on their daily struggle and help them feel better each day.
LEEANN HANSEN co-owns the gym her brother Blaine started back in 2016. After watching her brother battle Parkinson's disease for over 20 years, she stepped in and helped take over the gym when he no longer could.
It's been so hard. My brother and I are only 18 months apart. We have been best friends all of our lives. Being able to help him and to carry on his vision here has just been so important to me.
The gym in Mesa is part of a larger nonprofit organization by the same name, Rocksteady Boxing. Founded back in 2006 by Scott Newman and Vince Perez as a way to help Newman's battle against Parkinson's. Perez, who was a Golden Gloves boxer, created a workout that quickly became a new way to help get patients active.
Once we got people in there, that first group, I mean, you grow attached to people, right? You look at them and they're working their butt off and you want to be helpful and you want to show up. And the 12, 20 people that we had, they looked forward to it. They couldn't wait to get in there to do it.
If I want him to do exercise at home, he's always too tired or he doesn't want to. But boxing day, he never fusses, he gets ready by himself. He comes to boxing. It's not only the exercise, but it's the companionship that they have with each other.
Studies done by the Cleveland Clinic show that this style of exercise has many health benefits in slowing down the progression of Parkinson's by strengthening the muscles. That's why doctors are spreading the word about this program.
Keeping the muscles loose, the joints loose,
warming up the system. It's slowing the manifestations of the disease because you're stronger, your balance should be better, you're in better physical shape. It's a great thing to be able to offer patients.
The downward trend of the curve in terms of my strength, flexibility, balance, my walking issues, my voice, both my neurologists are pleased with my progress, and I think one of the great contributing factors is this class and regimen 3 times a week.
In addition to the health benefits from the boxing classes, Rocksteady gives an element of socialization that is crucial for the boxers.
We exchange information on neurologists, physicians, medications, dosage, frequency, types of medication, and this is valuable information. The other thing is you're not isolated, feeling sorry for yourself. You're actually here with other people that you can interact with.
For Hansen, being a part of Rocksteady Boxing has given her a new meaning of what she does.
It has changed my outlook a lot. They are part of my life now. We stay open because we want to be here for them. It's not a business, it's a service.
Rocksteady Boxing Mesa will continue to help Parkinson's patients like Coleman and help make a difference in the battle against the disease. In Mesa, Ryan Blank, Cronkite Sports Report.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for Break It Down. That's next. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Watch Arizona PBS any way you want, on air and online. Download the PBS video app to stream your favorite PBS programs anytime you want. And you can even watch Arizona PBS live, wherever you are, right from our website at azpbs.org. Don't forget about all your favorite PBS Kids shows, too, on the PBS Kids video app. Watch Arizona PBS, your way today.
The Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Every day I wake up, my first thought is, how can I serve this community?
The biggest hurdle was not taking PTSD personally.
Would you welcome, please, the amazing.
Everybody that watches this, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
Break It Down is brought to you in part by Mayo Clinic and viewers like you.
Hey, Sandy, thank you for breaking down reparations for Black Americans with me. Nice to have you here.
Nice to be with you.
First, I want to get into, because there's been a long-standing debate about this topic, and you've talked about this and written about this for a long time. Who exactly is owed reparations, in your opinion?
Reparations is owed to Black American descendants of persons who were enslaved in the United States. Reparations may be owed to other communities or groups that have been subjected to victimization by the United States government. But in the work that I've done with Kirsten Mullen, our focus has been on the case for Black American descendants of U.S. slavery.
And you also argue that this is the responsibility of the federal government, not local and state governments. Why do you make that argument specifically?
Well, for two reasons. The first reason is because the federal government is the culpable party. It's the federal government that produced the legal and authority framework that's associated with the atrocities that range from the period of slavery through the period of legal segregation in the United States into the present moment where we are experiencing ongoing mass incarceration, police executions of unarmed Blacks, the continued presence of discrimination in employment, housing, and credit markets, as well as the thing that we view as fundamental to setting the terms for a reparations plan, the enormous racial wealth gap in the United States, where the average Black household has $840,900 less in net worth than the average white household. And this corresponds to a situation where Black Americans who have ancestors who were enslaved in the United States constitute about 12% of the nation's population, but possess less than 2% of the nation's wealth. And so in our thinking, a reparations plan needs to bring the Black share of wealth into consistency with the Black share of the population. And not only is the federal government obligated to do this because of its complicity with this range of atrocities, but also it's really only the federal government that has the capacity to do it. If you were to take all the budgets of all the state and local governments in the United States, add them up, the total sum would come to $3.1 trillion. And our estimate of what is required to bring the Black share of wealth into consistency with the Black share of the population is at least $11 trillion. So, you know, apart from the fact that the states and localities don't have the ultimate responsibility because of the legal powers of the federal government, they don't have the capability either.
Now, I want to talk about white support for reparations for Black Americans. And we've seen that number increase within the past few decades. Can you tell me more specifically? Because I also hear this argument from white Americans, well, I didn't own slaves. I'm not responsible for what happened. Why should I pay into reparations? So tell me more about white support for reparations.
Well, actually, you know, white support for reparations has increased, particularly over the course of the past 2 decades. In the year 2000, Michael Dawson and Ravana Popov, 2 researchers at the University of Chicago, did a survey of American attitudes towards reparations, and they found that only 4% of white Americans endorsed reparations for African Americans. Then, by the year 2018, that percentage appears to have risen to 16. Still not spectacularly high, but considerably higher than 4%. And then the most recent surveys that I've seen that were taken at the midpoint of the current year place that proportion of white supporters for Black reparations in the vicinity of about 30%. And it appears to be about half of millennials. So there seems to be a momentum that is building in terms of creating support for reparations. And I suspect that that's the reason why we also see so much visible opposition to reparations in the present moment, because there is a fear that this is becoming a credible and serious possibility. But you know, the other thing that you asked is about this point that's frequently made by people like Mitch McConnell, that there's no one living today who is a slave, and there's no one living today who was a slave holder. But if we think about the creation of this racial wealth gap that I mentioned, this enormous gap of at least $11 trillion, it's a consequence of federal policies, and policies that were largely pursued after slavery ended. Right. So, for example, the federal government could have addressed the question of reparations for Black Americans immediately after the Civil War ended by fulfilling its promise of 40-acre land grants to the formerly enslaved. And instead, they received nothing. On the other hand, at the same time, the federal government was providing 1.5 million white families with 160-acre land grants in the Western Territories under the Homestead Acts. And so as a consequence, approximately 45 million living white Americans are beneficiaries of the Homestead Act.
Not to even mention the GI Bill.
The GI Bill is part of this this process of building home ownership and creating a middle class. But
a white middle class.
It's creating a white middle class. Exactly. So I would ask folks who say, well, you know, I didn't own slaves and there's no living slaves. I would ask them, did your family benefit from the GI Bill? Did your family benefit from the Homestead Act? And to what extent were your family members involved in the 100 massacres that took place across the country between the end of the Civil War in the 1940s that not only took Black lives, but resulted in the white terrorists destroying Black property or taking it over?
Right, right. And so in short, most white Americans have benefited from the legacies of slavery as well as the Jim Crow era. Whether they know that or not, they have benefited from those programs and are therefore complicit with the original sin of slavery. So
yes, but they are largely federal programs or federal practices. And so it's not a question of holding individual white Americans guilty for these sins. It's a question of holding the federal government responsible for these atrocities.
Which goes back to the original point. This is largely the responsibility of the federal government, and the federal government should pay. Well, thank you, Sandy. Thank you for breaking down reparations for Black Americans with me.
Thanks for having me.
This hour of local news is made possible by contributions from the Friends of PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you. If you have comments about Arizona PBS News, please contact us at one of the addresses on your screen. Thank you.